All right, so this is the Rhode Island. This is Cozmic, and we're gonna take a look at this. This is one of those newfangled Tier 10 battleships that got released. It's got smaller caliber guns, 356 millimeter guns at Tier 10. Feels a little anemic. Most people are used to the 406s that come with the American style shells and all that, but because of the lower caliber, her reload is a little bit faster than your typical 16-inch guns. I believe she also does have improved pen angles as a gimmick. The HE is... I'm sorry, what? She does?
I said she does.
Yeah. I did a review of her before. We talked about all this, but it's been a while since I've looked at the ship. So, you know, HE is fine as well. On this ship, you can set it up for both. I think the way that I set mine up originally was more of a long range. That was the first time I tried it, and then the second time I tried it, I spec'd it for more of a brawling ship. If I remember right, the armor scheme is quite lackluster on her, but I found myself more comfortable fighting up close and personal than and more standoffish. So, there's definitely some different ways that you can pick it up. This game was, you don't even know, did something thinking there was no way it would work, and it did. Okay. Besides that, the secondaries are okay. The concealment is quite nice when you get the modules and the upgrade on. Maneuverability is okay. You know, whatever. I don't think she has got the greatest hit point pool. 74k isn't too bad. Anyway, let's get to your build. Your Happy Wows Day yesterday, payday, so you bought... Yeah, you got your Missouri. Yeah, I know. I saw you shared that live yesterday while I was hanging out semi-live, and congratulations again for that. All right, so Cozmic's build. He's got Damage Control Party Modification 1, which Big O really approves of. And this is great on American battleships, because American battleships have increased duration built into them already. So 40% extra is even better. So now you can see action time of 30.8 seconds is really sexy. That means he cannot be set on fire or take a flood or lose a module for 30.8 seconds once he's triggered DCP. So that's really good for tanky.
Is the most that miscount and don't take it into account and try to do a repeat drop after like 20-25 seconds.
Yes.
While you're still immune.
Yep. Exactly. So that's one of the best modules for anti-carrier out there. Missouri guns are nice, yes. You've got Damage Control Mod 1 for flooding and fire. Artillery Plotting Room makes sense, yep. And then you've got Propulsion, Concealment, and then Artillery Plotting Room 2. Perfect. I don't think that...
You spent the coal mod for the damage con, but didn't use the coal mod for the speed boost in slot 2.
Or the radar boost? You could do either one, frankly. But wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. He's going for team play, guys. Look at this. He's got the spotting aircraft instead of radar. Cozmic, why you do this? I mean, I realize it's 9-kilometer range instead of 10, but at least in the 2 games that I played, I actually surprised the heck out of ships with that radar. So this is nice if you want to bump up your range, but honestly, I can understand the thought process behind it, but I would definitely be doing the radar. But in this case, you wouldn't do the radar module here.
The reason, one, I didn't actually have enough coal for the speed boost mod. That's why I don't have it yet. And 2, I had recently played like 5 games in a row where my radar was essentially useless because I was never close enough. There were no DDs left, there were no cruisers left to surprise with smoke, and everyone was saying so far at range that I was like, I wonder if spotting plane could be helpful. So I had taken it, and this was the only game I've used it.
This is the only game you've used it. Is that what you just said?
Yeah. Right
Okay.
after this game, I went back because I was like, well, this game actually might have been helpful with radar.
That's how it always
I
works.
just went back.
That's how it always works. You make a change, and then Matchmaker punishes you. So
I wouldn't use the radar duration because it's a 9-kilometer radar. Like, the chances that a destroyer or whatever you're gonna radar is gonna stay in that radar for the whole duration and even 20% more is quite slim. I agree. I'd rather bank on the fact that the ship is stealthy, you already have brisk, you have the speed boost. I would amplify that with longer speed boost.
And as usual, Grunty has already cheated and looked ahead at your captain build. But yeah, I mean, I understand that thought process. My thought process with the radar is having that extra duration. Let's see, if you go to radar right now, what's the duration on it? It's 40 seconds. So with your reload, you know, of 22 seconds, that's one salvo that you get. When you do this, that's 48.
You get two. Like, you shoot, you see the radar, you shoot after like 5 seconds, and the radar's still running, and you get the second salvo off.
Okay, yeah. But
what
I'm getting at is...
don't get the third.
But this one gets you a third.
Maybe.
So, I mean, to me, against destroyers and stuff. Now, again, I play typically more aggressive battleship player. So for me, that's where the radar comes in handy. But anyway, let's switch this back to your spotting aircraft. I do agree, though, engine here would be nice.
My philosophy is just like, you have already the 40-second radar. The destroyer either runs out of range or dies in that 40 seconds. Like, sure, there will be like 1 in 20 games where you get another salvo of the destroyer past 40 seconds with a radar. But it's gonna happen eventually, but like, consistency is taking the speed boost.
Dutch brings up a good point as well. You are banking on your teammates to actually utilize that radar and do something with it. Sure. The thing about the extra duration, though, is that also, if you think about it, gives your teammates that extra amount of time to be turning their guns, just because a lot of times, you know what it's like, right? You tell your teammates you're doing something, or maybe you don't, and they're not looking, and they're not prepared. And then you light something up, and you're like, why is nobody shooting? Well, it's because they're all looking that way, and you lit something up over there. So now they got to turn their ship, they got to turn their guns, all that kind of stuff. So to me, that's where the extra duration from the radar comes into play. The speed boost, yeah, it's nice. If you're going to play the ship more long range and want to juke shells and stuff, then you go the engine boost. If you want to play more aggressive and up close and personal in your face, then in my opinion, you do the surveillance radar. That's how I would do it. The other thing I'm going to say is, I don't think I have either of those two on my ship right now, on my own Rhode Island. And that's simply because I don't play her enough to warrant putting a special module on. So I also want to take a moment and mention that too. You don't have to put these unique special whatever modules on every single ship that you can apply it to. That's expensive. That's a lot of coal. I would only do it on ships that you know you're going to play a lot of, and you enjoy, frankly. If you play the Rhode Island a lot and you enjoy it, sure, shell out for those modules. But I would say wait until you're done with your 10th battle in it, maybe even 20th. Understand a little bit better about the ship before you make that decision. Dutch, good point.
I just mentioned it because you already had one of those modules on. So I figured out he likes the ship and plays it a lot.
Was he running a special radar mod? So I was dealing with something.
No, he was not.
Perfect. My attitude is these battleships that do have the radar, that like, unless, like you say, you played a lot and you understand it, all it does is make you fall into the trap of getting your butt handed to you because you want to push in and use that radar.
True. Dutch also brings up the same point with the engine boost. It gets you in trouble because you use it as you go in instead of use it to get out or dodge. So it all comes down to how you use it, and you have to know yourself and think about yourself, how you play it, and let's move on because we spent a lot of time on modules. Cosmic, is this a special captain or a standard?
This is my Halsey captain.
Halsey, okay. Halsey or the Doze makes perfect sense. It's a battleship. There you go. So you've got emergency repair specialist, gun feeder, grease the gears, brisk, adrenaline rush, and then you've got your typical tanky battleship skills here. Okay, so you went with the brisk because it's got good concealment and because it jives well with the engine boost, right?
Yes. Also, this is my Monty captain, so that much as well.
Okay, so you like to use this on your Montana. Okay.
Since you dropped the basic of survivability for the brisk, I'd probably take damage con mod in the 4th slot though.
Instead of propulsion? Mm-hmm. Okay. His rudder shift time is fine. There's no need to take the steering gears. And yeah, you can do that so that you at least get some benefit to reduction of fire and flood damage. That's a fair statement. But adrenaline rush is just such a good skill. Or no, you're talking about up here. Sorry, so used to looking at the commander skills. You're talking about up here getting rid of that, which is
Yep.
I mean, okay. I guess it depends on how he plans to use his engine boost, and how he plays. If he plays long range stop and go, then this makes far more sense. But okay. And then flags, you've got ramming, anti-det, fire and flood reduction, heal boost, speed, consumables, and anti-air. Typical American battleship stuff. Okay.
I mean, my only question is how many times does he use that 5th heal to warrant the 4-point skill?
It's not only about the 5th heal. Every single heal you have on this is gonna increase the heal you get from it.
Yep. And the DCP lasts longer too.
And it's his Monty captain, so that makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't see a problem with that. Well, I mean, what would you use instead, Puddin'? Basics?
Well, I mean, I go with my typical. I would take basics. I would probably, and then I would probably drop gun feeder and then pick up the typical damage to dealing to subs.
Oh,
You want
AA
gun
defense.
feeder on this ship. You have the low caliber guns. You need to switch.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm saying is this is his Monty captain. I'm just saying that's how I would set mine. I'm not saying that it's wrong, but I would.
Okay.
I'm just saying like that 10%, in my opinion, is not as big as it really could be. To where you take, it's take less damage instead of repair more damage.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I usually go, well, do you really use that 5th heal? I just prefer to take less damage than to repair more. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, the take less damage only applies to the fire and flooding, though. Like, you still take the same amount of damage from torpedoes or shells fired at you. Basics doesn't help you there.
Sure it does. You burn less. You flood
Puddin'
less.
doesn't like to burn. We talked about that a lot.
Yes.
Cosmic, is there a death pick in this one?
There is not. Not for me, anyway.
I think if you hate to burn, you should play carrier, Puddin'. I heard carriers are pretty good at not burning.
Right. No. I have standards.
Fair enough. All right, so, and I was laughing so hard at Archimelli saying, "I'm not saying you're wrong, just that you're not right." Anyway, let's take a look at your lineup here. So you're up against a Malta, Yamato, Montana, Rhode Island. This is a Q dump. Thunderer,
Yeah, I was
Mosk,
about to say, what is this matchmaking? What happened to you?
Shimakaze, Kaba, and 4501.
It's either a sub or a carrier Q dump.
Yep. And you've got a
Or
midway.
possibly even a division Q dump.
Could be. Midway, yourself, Schlieffen, Conquer, Thunder, Napoli, Haudegamo, Elbing, and a U-2501.
Okay, I can't watch this. This is a 4501 and I'll lose my mind.
This is Atlantic. Okay.
Enemy force sighted on the horizon.
So there's one radar cruiser on the enemy team, and you've got a Napoli, so...
Enemy battleship detected.
Like you had said, this would have been a really nice time to have radar.
Maybe. I'm not convinced the radar would actually be much good here because, like, the Khabarovsk is not gonna be within 9.
I'm surprised by the way you didn't pop your plane and try to shoot the Yamato.
Enemy destroyer detected.
And there's also Shimakaze, so, you know, that's where radar is nice. And frankly, the sub.
Yeah, but
You're taking a long time to get into position here.
yeah. And you are on the side with the Shimon, which was already spotted, and the sub is most likely here as well because your sub is here.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of sub, there's sub torpedoes. There's the ping from the sub.
Torpedoes to port. Enemy cruiser detected. Airborne. Torpedoes to port.
There's Shimakaze in the smoke.
Astern.
So
Am I behind or am I blind? Didn't see the ping from the sub.
he pinged. And you actually managed to hit him. Wow.
The ship is on fire.
Nice.
He wasn't zoomed in on it. It just came out from the island. I saw it because I was looking that way.
Awaiting instructions.
Taking a blind shot at the Shima, huh? Honestly, I wouldn't feel comfortable out here. Your Hargamo is hiding down an island. Your Conqueror is, well, about to be
More
torpedoed.
importantly, like, you intentionally went full speed ahead into the border here, or did you just
Torpedoes
not
to
pay
port.
attention
Boost activated.
to where you actually
attention
were?
to where the border was.
You weren't? Okay. Well, and I mean, that almost got you taking some torps, but, you know.
Honestly, the border forcing him downwards might have actually helped him avoid these torps.
Yep. Plane is up. Now you're shooting... I think that shot was expecting him to beach.
Yeah.
And yeah, he didn't beach.
And
Go ahead, Cosmic. What were you saying?
I was completely expecting him to beach, and he didn't. I didn't think he could go around the island that closely.
Yeah, so what I would do in that is simply wait a little bit longer and see if he does beach or not. If he doesn't, then you have to kind of predict where he's going to go. You actually could have hit him if you had waited a couple more seconds.
Fire support.
I'm not sure if I agree with you pushing around this island so aggressively. Like, the
I
enemy team
definitely would
has
not.
way more ships here than you have.
Mm-hmm.
And you are at the threat of constantly running into shimmy torpedoes as well.
Yep. You have a broadside Rhode Island. You could have switched to AP and slapped. Or even actually, Moskva right there. Moskva broadside to you right there. Oh my God, Elbing killed the Kava. Nice.
Dash it all.
I have a feeling this Haragumo is gonna eat some shimmy torps pretty shortly.
Why? Because he's just gonna sit and smoke and farm? Within range of the Moskva's radar?
Returning to ship.
Yeah, that would be one reason.
And yes, there are gamer words in chat, Dutch. So I'm curious, what you've been spending a lot of time just kind of looking around. What are you trying to do right here, Cosmic?
Honestly, I don't even remember what my thought process was here. So remember when I said I did something thinking it wasn't going to work, and then it kind of did? Yeah, this was that point.
Well, I mean, you're using your concealment to sneak up on them. Luckily, the Shimakaze is running away. And that shot right there tells them exactly where you are. And, yeah, I'm really confused as to why you never shot the Mosfa, because you had him... got a nice broadside on him. Unfortunately, the Harugumo kind of wrecked that, because by sitting there in the smoke, it forced the Mosfa to react and move out of the shell arc from the Harugumo. Oh, look, you found the border again.
And you have shots at the Moskva again.
Yep, because he's turning.
Deactivated.
Here's where you should be switching your shells to AP, because you know he's going to turn and run. And you've got Halsey, so you've got the buffed shell changing thing.
Like, even if you don't switch, like, it took you way too long to even notice that Moskva there.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
you could have probably fired 2 salvos of HE, or 1 HE, 1 AP, before he disappeared.
Got a spicy replay. Sounds good, Zeka. Probably aren't going to get to it today, because I've already got 4 prioritized. We shall see. So it's kind of interesting, like you still have HE in the barrels. At this point, you should be shooting a lot of AP. I'm not sure why you're just shooting HE here.
Yeah, I've kind of, at this point, trained myself out of using AP because of how lackluster I found the penetration. Also, my aim kind of sucks.
Okay. If you guys didn't hear him, because he's a little bit muffled there, he said he's learned not to use AP much on this ship simply because he doesn't find that it pens that well. You had to be very specific with your shots with the AP. Really only broadside ships. You had that Moskva broadside. That would have been good.
Yeah,
you
against
also had the
cruisers,
Montana.
it's really good. Against battleships, I can understand shooting the HE.
I would still try it on the Montana, for example. Also, Rhode Island is extremely low. I would be focusing on him to get the guns out of the game. There you go.
Like, Rhode Island doesn't have a lot of armor. Like, here the AP would have probably worked.
Yep, and Thunderer too, frankly.
But the juicy fire damage on the Thunderer.
Okay. I mean, look, if you know for sure you're going to win, then fine. That's gonna hurt. Didn't pay attention to enemies targeting you and shooting back at you. That's why I like priority target, because then I know someone's looking at me. But anyway, if you know you're going to win, if you know this is going to be an easy W, then sure. HE, burn, all the things. By the way, nice job stopping here, because you go dark. And because of that, you're able to just wait for your heal to come back up and DCP, whatever else you need.
But by going dark, he missed out on a good broadside shot again. So I'm... Like, I noticed this a lot. Like, you're not shooting on cooldown despite having the targets.
And the faster reload. Like, you might as well be playing a Vermont.
Like, right here, for example, when you have the... Like, I'm not sure what you're waiting for while you're holding the shot. Like, the situation is not gonna get better for you. The enemy ship is not magically gonna disappear and make it so only one ship is there that could shoot you back.
Cosmic, you have an idea about what your thinking was here?
Honestly, I was just waiting for my kill to come back up, and I didn't feel comfortable lighting myself up with all of the turrets still turned at me from last time.
Enemy
So I
submarine.
thought if I waited a little bit, maybe they would shoot at Conch, and once they shot at Conch, that I would have an opportunity to open up, because one, the border was there, so I wouldn't be able to turn out, and two, with them spaced out a little more than my monitor range, I couldn't actually see if they shot at me, because
Yeah,
I don't have priority or incoming.
The thing is, your Conqueror is actually lower than you. I
That's
don't know
okay.
if you have player panel mods or did low not so.
I
It
do
would probably be
not.
more beneficial for your team if you take the shots. And regarding the heal, you don't even have much hit points left that you could heal. There is no repairable damage on your ship.
Yeah, well, it's because of all the damage on that Montana salvo. Because he was
So you
broadsiding
could
it.
wait all the time to get your heals back, but you still couldn't use them.
I think the bigger issue, though, is just the lack of situational awareness, not realizing, like you said, you know, since you don't have priority target, you don't know who's looking at you, and that forces you to spend a lot more time looking around than you probably want to. Matarazzi, thank you for the follow. Welcome aboard. Like here you're dark, he's shooting at you, but you stay dark, and because of your brisk, you dodge those shells. Which is fine. I do understand the concern, though, about if you kept pushing, you are surrounded by more and more and more battleships from different angles. So, I mean, that part tracks. That makes perfect sense.
Engine boost activated.
I would have shot the Montana. Like, this game is getting closer. Like, the Montana is low. Like, it helps you too. Like, there's only one ship that can shoot you back if the Montana dies.
Mm-hmm.
So get it out.
Yep, you are at parity for ships, so I do agree with trying to get them out. Montana is healing now?
Yeah, that's the other problem if you don't finish the low HP ships, right?
Mm-hmm.
They get the heal back and then suddenly they aren't low anymore.
Like I was saying before, right? If it's a guaranteed win, then go ahead and farm the stuff. Now, right now, you're too busy typing in chat to be paying attention to, well, Thunder is charging you, for one. I think that's the first time you fired on cooldown, or on reload.
Luckily, the Thunder is shooting HE. So that's good for you.
Luckily, the Thunder is getting closer. That's good for your AP pen.
That too.
The ship is on fire.
Like, now is a perfect time to switch to AP. He's going to turn out wide.
Yeah, he kind of has to turn. Like, your CV is kind of forcing this.
Interesting, he actually didn't.
It was rocket planes. I didn't realize it was rockets.
Yeah, if it was torpedoes, that'd be a different story, wouldn't it?
If that was torps or dive bombers,
Okay, now you're loading AP. Conqueror gets killed by the Malta. I'm pausing this right here. You are aiming too far to the right. You need to be zoomed out more and aiming full left. What you need to do, let me show you. You need to be zoomed out and you need to be, I'm going to put this on super slow here. You need to be aiming your turrets like here. Okay? And the reason you aim your turrets here is because at the speed you're going, you've got engine boost on top. You're at 35 knots. Thunder is moving at 30 something. That means your closing speed is like 60 knots. Your turrets can't turn that fast. So if you don't prepare for the drive-by, what's going to happen is he's going to go right past. Your turrets are going to fire rear of where you want to hit, and you're going to miss a lot of citadels. So when you're doing a drive-by, your setup is always not forward like this. Your setup is always halfway like this. And what you're doing is you're watching the guy while your mouse is pointing this way. Or you can right-click and move. And that keeps your turrets looking here while you're free looking over on this side, okay? Because what you're naturally going to want to do as soon as you see this guy is you're going to want to kick your rudder to the left. You can see this guy's already turning left, trying to go for, I don't know, a ram or something.
He probably is, or is trying.
But he's coming up with a really nice broadside on you in a second or two.
To put it in different words, what you're doing is you're aiming at a specific point of the ship, and you want to shoot when, and you're trying to hit that specific point. What you should be doing is you aim your guns basically at the water. You pick a point where you want to fire the guns, and the moment the ship goes in that point, you fire the guns. You basically wait for him to be in the position where your guns can fire. If you try to put your guns onto a position on the ship, they're gonna outfire. And my prediction here is for this drive-by, you're gonna hit it probably somewhere in the back because you can't keep out of the turret traverse and the shots are gonna be too high.
Yep. Let's go into speed and see what happens. See, now you're trying to turn. You actually manage to make the turn, and you get the hit on him.
You got saved here by the improved pen angles, I think. If that wasn't without improved pen angles, I think you bounce. Well, you got him, so...
I like how you're asking him to. I mean, that's a good question. You're not gloating. You're not, making fun of him or anything. You really want to know, did he have AP loaded?
Problem solved, sir.
Yeah, because I was kind of, the second he shot before I did, I was like, oh shit, and then I just died. So I was like, what exactly happened there?
Deactivated.
Yeah, he had the angle on you
too
first.
soon.
And yeah, he probably shot too soon. Alright, well with those 2 kills, now it's just the sub, so clean up aisle 7. Thunder did make the same mistake.
He probably didn't know that your bow is 27. He could have just overmatched your bow and go in the Citadel from there, I think.
If he had AP loaded, he probably could have.
I've played where I've played bow in, and people still aim for my superstructure. And I honestly didn't know Rhodes had 27 bow until about 30 games in. I was bow into, I think it was a Montana, and then all of a sudden he deleted me through my bow, and I was like, what just happened?
Yep.
So I checked, and I was like, it's 27, not 32. Okay, I just assumed it was 32.
That's the same thing why the radar worked in like the first week where SAS managed to surprise the enemy shimmers and smoke up. Because they don't know initially that the ship has radar. The longer the ship is around, the more people know.
You shouldn't have dropped that second one.
Torpedoes, dead ahead.
I mean, you're probably gonna get them. But
Okay, explain to me. Why should he not have dropped the second?
okay, Grunty, if you give me a second, I will explain. So don't interrupt me, okay, please. I'm not a good day to upset me. You don't want to drop the second one seconds after the first one. You want to delay. For one, it's a 405. So if he does go underwater, he will never be anywhere near either one of those 2. It's that quick. And it's even for the rest of the subs. Let the first one drop. Wait about 5 seconds. And then you can drop your second one, because that is your only defense to these subs, unless the guy's charging you and wants to get spotted. A sub should never be spotted. You want those things on minimum cooldown time as possible. The other thing delaying them is once you drop on him and he hits that repair button, by the time your second one goes and hits him, his repair will be off cooldown, i.e. keeping the oil slick active for you to get better hits on the sub. Granted,
Yep.
this is the end of the game situation, and like I said, you drop both of them, you probably were going to kill them anyways, but it's a good habit to form.
He didn't
The
kill
sub
him.
was he didn't? I thought he did.
He killed him with guns at the end with main battery. Because you're right, he didn't kill him with the depth charges.
I completely disagree here. That submarine was directly spotted. You knew exactly where it was.
Right,
Oh, it
when he
wasn't?
shot him with his guns.
No, when he dropped the
Yeah.
depth charges.
No,
you knew
he dropped the depth charges with the oil slick.
Yes.
He pinged oil slick depth charges. 1, 2, and he put the second one behind the first one.
We can talk about a misplacement of the second one, but the oil slick is about as good as you needed to launch a depth charge. If you see the oil slick, you can drop them both.
Right.
I would drop
If
them
it's a
both at the same time.
4051, that oil slick is a 3-kilometer difference, minimal. He's full tailing it out of there if he's below the water, right? It's a good habit not to drop them. 1, 2, boom. Oh, now what? The oil slick's there. Oh man, I hope these things reload fast enough. Oh, I got some hits. Oh darn, his cooldown's up. Now I have no clue where he is. Crap, I just got shotgunned.
Yep.
By the way, wrong with the 5
I
seconds
kinda-
cool.
I kinda
It's before the
panicked.
repair
I
party
got
too,
both.
because the DCP on this U501 lasts 15 seconds. So
Right,
in that
Okay.
case,
but
you
would
actually
you
need to wait
wait?
20 seconds.
No, Grunty, because it's like your shells. When you click them, they're not instantly there. It takes them time to get to the target, which is why you don't exactly drop right on top of where that ping is, because by the time your planes get there, depending how far you are, it's up somewhere else.
Yep. I'm absolutely with Puddin on this one. Stagger your drops, especially early game. You know, you might get them stuck on a sticky flood or fire, as well as getting that oil slick back up again. The big thing about subs is if you put all your eggs in one basket and you miss, like Puddin says, now you're kind of stuck.
But
Rob actually agrees with you, Puddin.
I mean, if you're purely dropping
even
on a,
Dutch
if
is
you're
saying
purely
it's
placing it on a ping, I
Hold
would
on.
say yes, stagger them.
I
But
will
the-
ask the master at dropping these stupid subs. What does Big O think? Big O is way more skilled than any of us at doing this.
Lead your targets, use one, save one, and if it's spotted under a hydro, go after it, like from range, if you have the range.
It was
Okay.
spotted by an oil slick.
If it's on the surface and they're not diving, yeah, use your guns.
Okay, an oil slick is not spotted, Grunty, is completely different. That's like saying the DD spotted. How? Well, the smoke cloud's right there. That's not spotted.
There were 2 oil slicks giving away the direction, and the distance between the oil slicks gives you the speed and the lead you need.
Okay,
That's
once
about as
again,
good as it gets.
once again,
a submarine to drop.
once again, I'm gonna say this, and this will be the end. I said at the beginning of this, it probably doesn't matter in this particular situation, but to form good habits, stagger your drops.
I agree if it's
We're done.
If it's based
We
on
are-
a ping.
Grunty, we are done. We're moving on. I said my piece, you said your piece. That's it.
Cozmic was trying to say something, but obviously there was a little bit of controversy here. So Cosmic, can you repeat yourself?
I dropped the second one only entirely because I was panicking.
Because you what?
I was panicking because I didn't actually know what his reload was, because I haven't looked into the 351. So I was like, if he's got another rack loaded, he's just gonna launch him now. I should probably launch that other plane now, since I know more or less where he is. And then he surfaced right in front of me, and I was like, oh, I guess he's out of there.
Right. And that's what a lot of people will do when they see that ping on the minimap or on the surface. They'll just panic drop both of their ASW either at the exact same spot or right next to each other. And, you know, I understand that the thought process behind that, like get those shells out, but at the same time, you don't know what that sub is going to do. Yes, you're right. you could have been shotgunned or something. You don't know this guy's reload. So what's better is if you hold that other one in reserve, because if you see the torpedoes coming, then, okay, if you see the torpedoes coming, then you can drop your last one in the general direction. Okay, so...
Hold on. Yeah, I get your situation. You're like, it's nobody, like, I'd rather a carrier kill me, and I've done it to where the sub doesn't get the kill.
Yeah, me too.
What you do is take a deep breath, wait for the second oil slick, because that tells you the direction he's moving, which will tell you if he's going to shotgun you.
I know the direction already.
No, you don't, Grunty.
You know the last position of the submarine. You know where your destroyer is. You know. I'm sorry. If you on this situation right there can't tell where the submarine is, you have a problem playing against submarines.
Right,
out of this screenshot, you should be 100% be able to tell where the sub is.
With one oil slick, you can tell me that sub's not moving forward.
I can tell you with where his last position is, where your destroyer is that is dropping depth charges, and with that oil slick where the submarine is. Yes.
Right, because he never turned to come at you, and ping always gives directions. That's not a thing yet. Right? But what I'm trying to say is, people are panicking in these situations. Just remain calm. Stop, wait for the second oil slick. Right? Because, no offense, you're either dead or you're not, right? There's no in between. The 2 seconds to get your depth charges on more accurately to at least try to get the flesh wound is more important than just panicking in them.
He's never dead here to the submarine.
Okay, Grunty, once again, I asked you not to freaking interrupt me. I'm just saying, just wait. Try to remain calm. The best thing you can do is to remain calm and just take a breath and wait for the second oil slick. Waiting for the second oil slick helps you to catch your breath and remain calm in a situation, right? That's what I wanted to say.
Okay. And that's fair, because the other thing too is you don't know what this 4501 is going to do. I mean, he's being backed into a corner. He could always, as Puddin said, turn and charge. He's already fired torps at him once. I wouldn't be able to say with certainty that this 4501 can or cannot kill me here. I don't know the torpedo numbers. I don't have them in my head. Frankly, I don't care to either. So I always play with the idea of what's the worst thing that can happen. The worst thing that can happen is I die, right? The second worst thing that could happen is the Harugumo dice is quite low. If both die, am I still in danger of losing this game? Frankly, at this point, no. So what's nice about this is even if you screw this up, you're probably not going to lose the game. But it's still a very important learning opportunity. And I like that Puddin is taking this the time out to talk about how you think through this kind of situation. I agree. Wait for the second, or at the very least, drop your one and see what happens. Let's go ahead and continue on.
Wait, I'll say this. If you are not sure and you can't pinpoint the location of the submarine out of this situation, then I agree with Puddin that you should wait for the second oil slick. It gives you a better idea and you can drop it more accurate. I'm just saying, in this situation, you should, if you play a bit of submarines and know how they work, you should be able to know where it is. And if you know where it is, there is no reason to hold the second charge.
And
That's all I'm gonna say.
And I think Puddin's argument is this is not a 2501, this is a 4501, which has different characteristics underwater. So, you know, the knowledge of subs part of it, yes, you're right. And that's why we always talk about playing all the different ships, all the different lines you can get your hands on. But that's a unique ship that breaks some of the rules. It's the same thing as saying a Soviet carrier versus a standard American carrier.
True.
You know what I mean?
Comes another point into effect. If the submarine is actually deep underwater, not as periscope, and is going faster, the torps will not have the time to rise and they can't hit you in time. It's
Right.
way too close.
But the one true giveaway that he's periscoped up is IE's detected.
Right.
That means he's not fast.
Which means
4501 at periscope is 22 knots, maybe 23 or 24 if it has the propulsion mod, the captain skill.
Okay, but what a good player does, periscope up, drop the torps,
Dive.
go
Go
max
down
up,
takes
and get
forever
out
to
of there.
speed up. Takes forever to speed up. Takes like 30 seconds to go to full speed. I have that submarine. It takes forever to get to that speed.
Okay, let's continue. There's your second drop. And notice how you dropped it closer, as if you thought that he stopped and came back. So there, I don't think you're going to get a hit. Let's find out.
Torpedoes, dead ahead.
Yeah, that
You
second
can see-
drop was not good.
Now there's
He
the
got
second
fooled
oil
by the
slick.
ping, I think.
Torpedoes, dead ahead.
Which is probably a good thing. Like, pause it real quick. You saw where the ping was?
Mm-hmm.
That's an indicator for people that they often don't realize how far off of the actual position of a submarine that ping indicator can be.
Right, and people typically drop right on the ping.
Which is a mistake, quite frankly.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's a bad habit that a lot of people just don't understand. And okay, another thing, you fired your guns just guessing that he was going to show up there, and then look, he showed up a little bit differently. I don't know why you fired your guns there. Probably like you said, panicking.
I think he fired his guns at the oil slick. But
He
luckily
actually
he
got a
had
hit.
but luckily he had the HE loaded because HE
Explosion
was splash
radius.
damage. Yeah, unlike AP where you need a direct hit.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, I mean, let's take a look at the final stuff here. You got yourself a Dreadnought, a Kraken, and a high caliber. 172,000 damage. I mean, it's... Let me say it like this, Cosmic. The numbers... That's a great game, right? That's a good game. I think you've seen when we talked about initially, and we'll highlight this with the replay render too, you had left a lot of damage on the table by one, not firing AP into targets that you could have probably smacked, like the Moskva mainly, and two, you put yourself into a lot of danger early. It paid off in this game, but almost too aggressive, especially because you didn't have the radar. Like you said, you were going to change that later, so. First place. Here's all your damage and stuff. What struck me in general, how reluctant he is.
I missed Moscow. Like, I'm thinking about that game, and I feel like I never saw him, despite the fact that he was right there. That's where I was terrified of being broadside to like 3 or 4 battleships.
I would think that was your second statement. You were concerned more about the battleships because they were, in your mind, your bigger threat. And so you point your attention more at those. And this is another example of why I always advocate priority target, because you don't have to put all that brain power into, is that a threat or not? Are those battleships even looking at you? You don't know unless you zoom in and scope in on their turrets. Even then you don't know because you've got a Conqueror right behind you. So it's in the same general area. You know what I mean? So that's where, in my opinion, priority target really shines, because then you don't have to worry about them. Instead, you can say, okay, where's my damage? There's the Moskva right there. Let's go kill that. So it gives you a lot more situation awareness than I think a lot of players give it credit for. It's a costlier skill at 2 points, but it can really help. And Dutch, good point, reluctance in shots. But again, I think that goes back to what we were just talking about. You're concerned about taking damage because look at what you took from these artillery shells. Where's the Montana? 5 hits for 16,000 damage.
Yeah, that was the broadside salvo he took there.
Yep. Yep.
You
And
also like
one sec, if you don't mind. After that, you were very concerned about the Montana. He never hit you again. Go ahead, Grunty.
I think for the whole apart from that you ran into the border by accident 2 times, you stayed too close to the border in general. It limits the amount of maneuverability you have, because you can basically only turn in one direction if something happens.
Or what he did, which is slow down, which I do like. I actually agree with. He slowed down twice to break his concealment.
If you just give yourself like a kilometer more distance to the border, you have more options while still staying fairly enough away from all these battleships you were scared of.
Okay. Let's pull up the replay render. Let's see. And I need to run Stream Raiders. Let me get this going off stream here. Yeah, so I mean, I feel like you left a good amount of damage on the table early on, not popping your plane, shooting at that Yamato, waiting a very long time before you got into position to start shooting. And when you did that, you're right next to the Conqueror anyway, which kind of negates, I suppose you could say, armor, you know, trying to find broadsides and that sort of deal. But it's a Conqueror. He's not going to shoot AP either, so there's that.
Why was the team so mad about your carrier, by the way? I didn't see him do anything particularly wrong.
I mean...
Well, just sitting there, I think, is wrong.
Yeah.
I would agree if it was a full match, but in this particular case, like, where would you want him to be? The only safe place where he can really go is behind this island on the B4-5 line. And that takes him further away from the action. So,
or he could be following the Conqueror Rhode Island down to one line.
I wouldn't. Not early on. At this point, he should be moving.
Yeah.
I mean, now he can move. Like, if you move too early there, you can get caught. Like, what if the ACAB falls and the enemy pushes through? Then you lost your CV too.
Exactly.
Well, what I mean, at the start of the game, he can easily just hit us one time.
But why?
That's what I like to do at the start of my game. I want to know where the enemy's going to be, where they you know, where they show up. And more importantly, I like to be moving a little bit so that I can't be CV sniped.
You're actually easier to get CV sniped if you're reversing than when you're sitting still. Because
Why?
if you're sitting still, you have the option of going forward or backward. Whereas if you get caught reversing, you're basically not stopping in time. Because it takes too long to stop.
But most of the time when I'm talking about CV sniping, I'm talking about enemy ships that are trying to hit me from maximum range.
It's a midway with an armored deck. It'd be fine.
And there's your joust. So your Malta, the enemy Malta did the right thing by, you know, going for those islands we were just talking about up by sea. He followed his team. They clearly won at sea, so that made sense. Yeah, the Elbing was mad at everybody, but I mean, you get some people that just they're never happy.
He probably got an idiot in Albing who doesn't know how to play it, or just knows how to play it one particular way.
Yeah, I mean, I had
anything. I just shoot cruisers.
I had a T61.
At the start zone.
Yeah, I had a T61 in ranked. Some of you guys saw that a couple days ago, and he was definitely playing quarterback. But he's a big part of the reason we won the game. So some people just get really into the game and they want to communicate and all that. So anyway, Cosmic, any final questions? Anything else to ask before we move on?
Not really. You guys kind of covered everything I was hoping you would. So.
Dutch, I'll say this. If you start out in you're at least reversing, you get further away from any battleship that wants to shoot you. If the CV is coming in for a strike, he's probably going to pull it off anyways, but it's the start of the game. So what? Take some damage. Right? But once you see your team is 1C, you can start moving down the 1 line. And, well, he's in range of the battleships. If you're not spotted, they can't shoot you. Right? It's like what I tell people playing, oh God, what's that stupid map in clan battles where everybody goes behind the island? You know what I'm talking about. But you send your DD into that cap and, oh, he's radared. Who cares? Nobody's shooting him. You're not taking damage. Right? Like, that's the thing you got to remember.
So let's go ahead and move into the